Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most classic and practical shortest path algorithms, the AAR algorithm. It's used in all kinds of scenarios, from NPC pathfinding in video games to robot navigation, and even in the map apps you use every day, like Google Maps or Apple Maps. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how AAR works, how it compares to Dijkstra's algorithm, and how to implement it in Python. But before we dive into AAR, let's do a quick recap of its predecessor, Dijkstra's algorithm. Dijkstra is a single-source shortest path algorithm. That means it finds the shortest paths from a starting point to all other nodes in a graph. And of course, if you only care about the shortest path from a start to a specific goal, Dijkstra works just as well. The basic idea is a mix of greedy search and dynamic updates. At every step, Dijkstra picks the node with the smallest known distance from the start, one that hasn't been fully explored yet. Then it tries to use that node to update the shortest path estimates to its neighbors. It keeps repeating this process until the shortest paths to all nodes are found, or until the goal node is reached, if we're only interested in one destination. By the way, if you'd like a deeper look at how Dijkstra works, feel free to check out the related videos on the ByteVigor channel. Dijkstra is a solid and reliable algorithm. It's guaranteed to find the shortest path, but it does have one clear downside. It can be a bit too greedy in a not-so-smart way. Let me give you an example. Say we have a randomly generated map with 760 nodes and over 2,200 edges. Our goal is to find the shortest path from a red starting point to a green goal. If we use Dijkstra here, it'll start exploring in all directions like a blanket search, even in areas that have nothing to do with the goal. Yes, it'll eventually find the shortest path, but the process isn't very efficient. It ends up wasting a lot of time and computing power exploring irrelevant paths. That's where AAR comes in. AAR builds on Dijkstra, but adds one powerful idea, a heuristic, or in simple terms, a smart guess. Instead of just looking at how far it has traveled so far, AAR also tries to estimate how much further it still needs to go. This estimated cost is called the heuristic function, usually written as hn. Every time AAR chooses the next node to explore, it calculates a score. Fn equals gn plus hn. Here, gn is the actual cost from the start to the current node, and hn is the estimated cost from that node to the goal. In other words, AAR tries to balance how far we've come with how far we think we still need to go. This makes the search more focused and goal-directed, a lot like how humans instinctively find their way. Interestingly, if we set hn to 0, meaning we completely ignore the heuristic, AAR actually becomes just regular Dijkstra. So you can think of AAR as a smarter, faster version of Dijkstra, especially when you have a good heuristic. Let's go back to that same map. This time, if we use AAR to find the path, you'll see that it focuses its search more tightly around the direction of the goal. It still finds the shortest path, just like Dijkstra, but it does so faster and with less unnecessary exploration. Now let's walk through an example step by step, using the graph you see on the screen. Our goal is to find the shortest path from the starting point A to the destination node F. First, we'll set up a table that tracks 5 pieces of information. The first column lists all the nodes in the graph. The second column is the G value, which represents the shortest known distance from the start node A to each node. At the beginning, the G value for A is 0, and all the others are set to infinity, meaning we haven't found any paths to them yet. The third column is the H value. This is our estimated cost from the current node to the goal, F. This is our heuristic function. It's usually based on the layout of the graph, and often something simple like straight line distance or Manhattan distance. We'll talk more about what makes a good heuristic later. The fourth column is the F value, which is just G plus H. It tells us which node seems most promising to explore next. And finally, we have the previous node, which records where we came from, so that once we reach the goal, we can trace back the full path. At the start, all previous nodes are blank. Along with the table, we'll use 2 lists. The open list holds all the nodes we're still considering. It's usually implemented as a priority queue, so we can always pick the one with the lowest F value quickly. The other list is the closed list, which tracks nodes we've already processed, so we don't revisit them. Now let's begin the algorithm. We start with node A. Its G value is 0 and its H value is 18. So the F value is 0 plus 18, which gives us 18. We add node A to the open list as 18A. In the first iteration, the open list only contains 18A. We take it out and process it. A has two neighbors, B and D. First, let's look at B. The distance from A to B is 3, so B's G value becomes 3. Its H value is 12, so the F value is 3 plus 12, which gives us 15. We set A as B's previous node and add 15B to the open list. Next, we look at D. The distance from A to D is 7, so its G value becomes 7. Its H value is 11, which means the F value is 7 plus 11. That gives us 18. We set A as D's previous node and add 18D to the open list. Finally, we move A to the closed list. It's done. In the second round, the open list has 15B and 18D. We choose the one with the lowest F value, B, and process it. B has two neighbors, A and C. A is already in the closed list, so we skip it. Now we check C. B's G value is 3, and the distance from B to C is 6, which gives us a G value of 9 for C. That's better than infinity, so we update C's G value to 9. C's H value is 7, so the F value is 9 plus 7, which is 16. We set B as C's previous node and add 16C to the open list. Now that we've finished processing B, we move it to the closed list. In round 3, the open list contains 16C and 18D. C has the lower F value, so we process C. C has 4 neighbors, B, D, E, and F. B is already closed, so we skip it. Now we check D. C's G value is 9, and the distance from C to D is 8, which gives a total of 17. But D's current G value is 7, which is better, so we don't update it. Now let's check E. C's G value is 9, and the distance to E is 7, giving a total of 16. That's better than infinity, so we update E's G value to 16. E's H value is 5, so its F value becomes 16 plus 5, which is 21. We set C as E's previous node and add 21E to the open list. Next is F. C's G value is 9, and the distance to F is 10, giving us a G value of 19. That's also better than infinity, so we update F's G value to 19. Its H value is 0, so its F value is also 19. We set C as F's previous node and add 19F to the open list. Now that we've processed C, we move it to the closed list. In round 4, the open list has 18D, 21E, and 19F. We process D next, since it has the lowest F value. D has 3 neighbors, A, C, and E. A and C are already closed. For E, the G value from D would be 7 plus 11, which is 18. But E already has a G value of 16, which is better, so we don't update it. D is now done, so we add it to the closed list. Now we're in the 5th round. The open list contains 19F and 21E. F has the lower F value, and it's also our goal node. That means we've successfully found the shortest path from A to F. To trace back the path, we just follow the previous nodes backward. F came from C came from B, and B came from A. So the final path is A to B to C to F. The total distance is 19. Here's a Python implementation of the A* algorithm. Let's walk through it to see how it helps us find the shortest path. This is the A* function. It takes 4 parameters: the graph itself, a list of heuristic estimates for each node, the starting node, and the goal node. At the beginning, we create an open list, which keeps track of the nodes we still need to explore. It's implemented as a priority queue, so we can always quickly access the node with the lowest F value. We start by adding the starting node to this list. Next, we set up 2 dictionaries. One is gscore, which stores the shortest known distance from the start to each node. At the beginning, the G value of the start node is 0. The second is fscore, which is the estimated total cost. That's G plus the heuristic H. We also create a dictionary called CameFrom, which keeps track of where each node came from. This is how we'll reconstruct the full path later. And finally, we use a close set to keep track of nodes we've already processed, so we don't visit them again. Inside the main loop, we always take the node with the lowest F value from the open list. If that node is the goal, we've found our path, and we can trace it back using the CameFrom dictionary. If it's not the goal, we go through all its neighbors. For each neighbor, if it hasn't been visited yet, or if we've just found a shorter way to reach it, we update its G value, F value, and set its predecessor. Then we add it to the open list to be processed later. This process keeps repeating until we reach the goal. Or, if the open list becomes empty, that means there's no path we can take to get there. At the bottom of the code, you can see the graph definition and the heuristic values. They match the example we walked through earlier. At this point, you might be wondering, how well A* performs really depends on the heuristic we choose. So what makes a good heuristic? The rule is actually pretty simple. We want our heuristic function, usually written as hn, to estimate the distance from any node to the goal as accurately as possible, but with one important constraint. It must never overestimate the true cost. In other words, it's okay if the heuristic underestimates the actual distance. That just means the algorithm might explore a bit more. But if it overestimates, we could miss the shortest path. As long as hn is always less than or equal to the actual shortest distance to the goal, we call it an admissible heuristic, and A* is guaranteed to find the optimal path. For example, in a 2D grid where movement is only allowed up, down, left, and right, the Manhattan distance is a common and safe choice for a heuristic. If diagonal movement is allowed, then the Euclidean distance works just as well. As long as your heuristic stays on the safe side, meaning it never overestimates the actual cost to reach the goal, A* can guarantee both optimal paths and efficient search. The time complexity of A* depends on several factors, like the size of the graph, how the nodes are distributed, and how effective the heuristic is. If the heuristic doesn't help much, the algorithm behaves similarly to Dijkstra's, with a time complexity close to O(e plus v log v. That means it might have to explore all edges and nodes. But with a well-designed heuristic, A* can avoid unnecessary searches and perform closer to OE, meaning it mostly depends on the number of edges. So overall, the time complexity lies somewhere between OE and OE plus v log v, depending on how good your heuristic is. Now let's talk about where A* is actually used. The answer is, pretty much anywhere pathfinding is needed. In games, for example, A* is what powers NPCs to navigate around obstacles and reach their targets. In robotics and autonomous vehicles, A* or its variants are used to help them move through complex environments. Even map navigation apps like Google Maps or Apple Maps often use A*, or an algorithm based on it, to calculate routes behind the scenes. All in all, A* is a well-structured and powerful algorithm for pathfinding. And as long as the heuristic is chosen wisely, A* is both fast and accurate, making it one of the top choices for solving shortest path problems.